What's going on, guys? This is Carter Karels, Texas A&M beat writer for GigEm 247. I'm here at Kyle Field after Texas A&M just lost to Alabama 26-20. Let's get this thing started. Just going to kind of pace around as I talk here about a game that just feels super disappointing if you're an Aggie fan, because my gosh, I mean, you just look back on this game and you think, okay, you won the turnover battle, you held them to 23 rushing yards on the game, you had an amazing home crowd that really made an impact on the game. Alabama had 14 penalties. Alabama played pretty ugly for a lot of the game, and I think 9 of their 14 penalties were pre-snap. A lot of false starts today for the Crimson Tide. And in the first half, you're watching this team, this A&M team, and you're thinking, man, this team looks like the better one out there. And then the second half quickly changed. They were up 17-10 going into the half. And really what the difference was today, a few different things, but you first have to give Alabama credit, right? Because Jalen Milroe played lights out. Over 300 yards passing. Jermaine Burton had a game that he's going to be telling his grandkids about one day. Truly an epic performance for Jermaine Burton. Isaiah Bond as well, almost getting to 100 receiving yards on the day. Both of those guys accounted for pretty much all of Jalen Milroe's passing yards. So I got to give credit where it's due. They really figured things out in the second half as far as protecting the quarterback, getting things out quicker. Because Bama in the first half, I think A&M had 4 sacks and was really getting to Milroe and forcing him into some bad decisions. But in the second half, much different for him. But what I probably should have led with here is some of the decision making that cost A&M ultimately. I mean, I tweeted after the game, there were so many questionable or at least conservative decisions from the A&M side, from the A&M coaching staff. I don't even know if I can recall them all off the top of my head. I mean, let's just go through it. I mean, you got to give them credit. The first drive, 4th and 1, they go for it. I don't know. I'd have to go and rewatch the play. It looked like Dallas Turner went completely unblocked, and Max Johnson had Max Wright wide open for a touchdown in the end zone, and just couldn't get it to him in time. The pass rush got to him. O-line didn't really protect him. I don't know if it was just a missed assignment or what, but you got to think Dallas Turner is somebody that you want to block on every play. But you missed that. Then the second time you go down to the red zone, I think you got 3rd and goal on the 5, and Max Johnson had Anais Smith wide open for a touchdown, but couldn't get it to him in time. It seemed like Max Johnson had enough time on the play, but Anais just didn't get open until the last second, or I guess when the pass rush got to Max. So his throw was affected because of the pass rush. Couldn't get it to Anais in time, and man, you're looking at that very beginning of the game. It's 3-0 A&M, and you're thinking, man, it should be 14-0 right now for the Aggies. But, you know, for all the mistakes A&M made, you could say the same thing about Alabama. It was really a game where whoever was going to come out with the loss was going to be kicking themselves, because I say, my gosh, how many missed opportunities were there? How many times did the other team mess up and gift me certain things? Getting more into the specific decisions for A&M, I mean, you first have to start with the end of the first half. You got about 1:20 left, I want to say, when Walter Nolan had his sack somewhat close to midfield, and you had 2 timeouts, and Jimbo Fisher elected to not call a timeout. You would have gotten the ball back with maybe 1:20, something like that, and another timeout, but instead you kind of let the clock roll to about 43 seconds. Then when A&M takes over, they just kind of give up and go in the half. And, you know, I asked him about it after the game, and he essentially said, yeah, you know, didn't want to give Alabama momentum. They're up 17-10, A&M was. The A&M defense had been playing extremely well, and they just didn't want to kind of risk making a mistake on offense and gifting Alabama some free points before not just the half, but then Alabama was going to get the ball at the beginning of the second half. So, okay, I can kind of get that, right? I mean, Alabama had 3 timeouts, so even if it wasn't a disaster for your offense and you just punted it away, Alabama still could have driven down the field, got a field goal, I don't know about a touchdown, but they would have had enough time to maybe get some points on the board. So I get not wanting to give them momentum. Hey, you played a great half. It's 17-10. No need to add some extra variables in there. I understand that. But the second half stuff is what I didn't really get. You had 3rd and 2 at the 46-yard line in the third quarter. I think A&M was down by 7 at that point. It might have been a tied game. It was either 17-17 or 24-17. And you're 3rd and 2, and this A&M team has really struggled to run the football, especially in short yardage situations. You liked what you've seen out of Le'Veon Moss out of the last, couple games, but hey, against these big boys at Bama, against these big-time dogs on the defensive line, I don't know if you can win those situations. Well, okay, they go out, they run on 3rd and 2. Okay, well, I can get it. If you're going to go on 4th and 1, if you're going to go on 4th and inches, then sure, let's go for a run there. And sorry, there's some ruckus behind me. But let me let these guys clear out. So you go from 3rd and 2 to 4th and 1 at the 45. Why aren't you going for it there? If you're going to run the ball on 3rd and 2, usually that means it's because it's 4th down territory. If you're not going to go for it there, I'd rather pass it on 3rd and 2 because you haven't shown yet that you can run in those short yardage situations. So they punt the ball there. They had the very next possession, I think Bama scored actually to make it 24-17. A&M marches down the field. They have 4th and 5, 4th and 6 at the 45. They punt again, right? And you're thinking, man, okay, well, this is Alabama. This is Alabama. They're starting to outplay you. You got to take some chances if you want to win the game. They had 2 field goals where they probably could have gone for it and didn't. They had the one that got blocked, and then at the end of the game when they had 4th and goal at the 2. And the whole thing with the end of the game, let's get into that, the 4th and goal at the 2. There's like 3:20, 3:15 left in the game, something like that. A&M has all 3 of its timeouts. They had just completed a pass to Jake Johnson, 15 or so yards to get it down to the 2. And I understand the thinking. I understand the idea of, hey, you got to have 2 scores to win the game. Why potentially lose the game there? You don't get it there, the game's over. In my mind, again, this is Alabama. And what better, that one of your scores has to be a touchdown, and you got, about 3:15 left. I just don't know if you're ever going to have a better opportunity than right there at the 2-yard line. You just had a big play. I don't know. I think maybe you go for the touchdown there. But okay, they're not going to do it. They're going to kick a field goal. Fine, whatever. But they call a timeout. They call one of their 3 timeouts just to kick a field goal. And, we asked Jimbo about it after the game, and he says, well, I didn't want too much time to waste. Well, if you know that Alabama is trying to milk the clock and is going to hike the ball with 1 second left on the play clock, even if you hike and kick the field goal with 8 seconds left on the play clock, you're saving 7 precious seconds there. And, we know that Bama was able to milk out the clock just by a little bit at the end of the game. But I'm just thinking, okay, I can be convinced about the field goal there, but you can't tell me that a timeout there made sense. You got to have your guys prepared for a field goal. You know, on 3rd and long, you should know that. You should say, hey, it's 3rd and long, we might kick a field goal. Field goal unit, get ready. I'll signal you. And if it falls short, if it gets to a certain distance and there's some sort of feeling that, yeah, I got to kick the field goal here, then you get on the field immediately, because this might end up being a complete pass. This may end up having the clock rolling. And so, in my opinion, I'm just like, how do you not have those guys ready for that situation? And even if you don't burn a timeout. And we've seen it time again with Jimbo Fisher using timeouts when, you know, he thinks he's going to get a delay of game at certain points in the game, or guys aren't aligned right, or there's a substitution. Sometimes, hey, take a 5-yard penalty if you have to. Save the timeouts, because they're going to be useful for you later. And in this situation, it was a little bit different, but the same thing of, hey, even if you hike the ball with 10 seconds left on the play clock, you're saving time. So, you know, I keep looking at those decisions and saying, man, had just 1 or 2 of them been a different decision, does A&M win this football game? And, you know, I've been a little doom and gloom so far, so let me get into some positives. That first half from the A&M defense, yeah, really, really tough game from Josh DeBerry. I know they subbed him out for Deuce Harmon. He gave up a slant touchdown to Burton pretty immediately. They got a lot of problems to address at corner. But the thinking is, hey, if this pass rush can be 5 or 6 sacks every game, then it may not matter as much how bad your cornerbacks are playing. And it kind of looked like that in the first half. For as much as they got burned deep at times, they only gave up 10 points. They weren't giving up anything in the ground game, and they were getting to the quarterback on 3rd down. Like I said, 4 sacks, 4 of their 6 sacks came in the first half. And, you know, it was the kind of the usual suspects, right? Walter Nolan, Edgerrin Cooper. I mean, I tweeted, I think the first half of the game, I'm like, Edgerrin Cooper might be one of the best linebackers in the country. This guy is just all over the place, making plays, especially off the edge. No pun intended. And so that was a really impressive effort. Max Johnson, you know, talking about him real quick, man, you felt like Auburn played great in the second half. Arkansas played great in the first half. And then second half, Arkansas was an absolute disaster. And you felt like, man, if he could just, like, he just needs to be a game manager, because this might be a game where it's 1st to 20 wins. And outside of his 1 interception, there wasn't anything too chaotic. But what I would critique him on is I felt like he held on to the ball too long. Now, his offensive line really failed him in a lot of ways. I think A&M has probably got to make a replacement at right tackle. It's probably, if they do, it's 2 games too late. They got to make a change there. Crownover is clearly the better option. But Max Johnson, at times, it's been a problem. It's been well documented. He holds on to the ball a little too long. And when you do that, you're not doing anybody any favors. And, you know, I think what he has done so far has been commendable. You got to give the guy credit for losing the starting job, coming in and doing what he did against Auburn, doing what he did against Arkansas, and giving this team somewhat of a chance to win against Alabama. But you just look at the rest of the season and you say, can he be the guy who wins them a game against a great team? Can he be a guy who can play a 4-quarter ball game at a high level? Or is it going to be kind of this up and down play that we've seen? Look, I think he is capable of making a lot of the throws that you want. I think he's capable of leading the offense. But when you can't run the football, and when your offensive line can't protect the quarterback, and then your quarterback's holding on the ball too long, you're going to have a lot of problems on offense. And you know, they're not fully healthy at wide receiver. Evan Stewart was in a boot walking into the game earlier today. Ended up playing, ended up looking, you know, decently fine. Noah Thomas, he's got a nagging injury that will kind of be there with him all season, it seems like. But man, I mean, this offense has some red flags when it comes to the protection issues, the holding on to the ball too long, running the ball, short yardage situations. When you play a team like Alabama, your weaknesses come to light. And we saw that today with the secondary and the other things that I've mentioned. Now, I say all of this, and I also understand this is Game 6. This is A&M's first SEC loss. And the SEC looks freaking awful this season, especially in the West. And Alabama looks like the best team in the West. I mean, you see LSU today, and they can't defend at all. Arkansas was terrible. Auburn was terrible. Mississippi State is playing like an FCS team right now. And who am I missing? Ole Miss, you know, they look pretty good, but they still look beatable, right? And so you look at the rest of the schedule, and A&M still can get to that 9 to 10 win mark, but there are some toss-ups. There are some coin flips. Tennessee next weekend will not be easy. At Ole Miss won't be easy. At LSU, you know, these aren't gimmies, but they're winnable. And that's the point, is there still is something to play for if you want to get to a New Year's Six Bowl, if you want to hope that, hey, Alabama, it's not like they're absolutely unbeatable. They could lose a couple SEC games. So the season's not over for A&M. You lost to a top 10 team by one score. Is it the end of the world? Maybe not. But how this team responds to it will probably determine what that answer is, because this could be a loss like last year where it snowballs and you know, you lose to Tennessee and then it's all of a sudden, wow, you got 3 losses going into your bye week. Or this could be, hey, you lost to the best team in the SEC or the second best team in the SEC. So what? All the other games are winnable. Let's keep going. And I'll say I like the makeup of this team. I think they're a lot better equipped to handle adversity, handle losses, like unlike how they were last year. And so I don't think the season's over by any stretch. I think this is a talented team. They just, you know, you got to put them in better positions from a coaching standpoint and all the other things that I talked about. We'll see if they make a change at right tackle. We'll see if they make a change at cornerback. There have been a number of positions this year where they've had to make a change. And so anyway, I've kind of yapped as much as I probably should yap, and it's been fun walking around Kyle Field this time, a little bit different of a change of pace. I'll be in Knoxville next Saturday. Really can't wait for that. A&M has only been in Knoxville once since joining the SEC, and it was during that COVID year in 2020. So A&M fans weren't able to really experience it. This will be their first time to do it. This will be my first time at Rocky Top, so I can't wait for that. Still a lot of games to be played. The sky has not totally fallen yet, and A&M still has everything in front of them in my mind, but definitely a disappointing loss. Definitely a loss you'll look back at the end of the season and say, my gosh, how did they not win that game? How did they not, you know, find a way to get it out? So anyway, that's it from me, guys. Appreciate y'all listening, and see you guys next week.